Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another episode of Struggling Students. Tonight we have two students from Holland who believe they have a relatively easy life as a student when it comes to handling their finances, especially compared to foreign students. Like every week, we took the hometown of our guest from the previous episode, which was of course Manchester. Research done by the University of the United Kingdom by the University Guide of the United Kingdoms rated the University of Manchester 25th of the country. This research rated the university based on student satisfaction, entry standards, research quality, and graduate prospects. Most people would expect more from a university located in a city as big as Manchester. So, Ulis, Joey, and I traveled to Manchester to do a research on the situation of students, and in particular their financial situation in Manchester. But first, welcome both of you. How about a little introduction?
Yes, good evening, Soufiane and Joey, and thank you for having me tonight. I study digital media and communication at the Hogeschool Utrecht in Utrecht. I also live in Utrecht, and I used to play football at FC Utrecht. And as you might have noticed, I was just dying to get out of Utrecht for once, and I wanted to visit Manchester. I visited Manchester for the first time of my life to do research. It was also my first time in the UK, and I believe that we managed to deliver some great insights.
Good evening, Souf, Ulis. Pleasure to be here tonight. My name is Joey and I study human resource management, also in Utrecht. I live in Lochem, it's a small town in the eastern part of Holland, and I'm originally from Deventer. And I owe quite a lot to the school system, the Dutch educational system myself, and therefore I was very curious about the financial situation of foreign students, and especially the ones from England.
Thanks for your introduction, both of you. I can confirm these two had a great time in Manchester, since I was there myself to supervise the entire project and the research. Thus I could confirm. Could you inform everybody on what exactly you were researching while you were in Manchester? First, Ulis.
Yes, of course. We wanted to form an idea of how students live there in general. We wanted to know if they live in student homes or still live at their parents' home. We also wondered if they do live on their own, if there would be any money left to go out for dinner or to get some drinks. What also triggered our research was the fact that since the government swapped away our student loan system a few years ago, since then we heard a lot of noise and criticism. To expand our view, we wanted to discover another financial system in a country which is known to deliver quality education.
Thanks. Joey, could you also tell us something about the particular research you were doing, the kind of research, and something about the goals, your aims in Manchester?
Of course. In addition to what my colleague Ulis just mentioned, we also wanted to find out in which ways the government supports the students financially, and how the students experience that support, because there can be a big difference between those two.
True.
Because mainly, in our opinion, our government in the Netherlands is doing a decent job when it comes to handling students' finances and aids. We therefore questioned 10 students in Manchester about their employment, their housing, like Ulis just mentioned, and I did personally in general opinions about studying in Manchester in regard to government aid.
Thanks for your answers, both of you, of course. And I would agree about the Dutch government, and they are doing a pretty good job in the Netherlands about financial situation, about financing and helping and aiding the students in the Netherlands. I have also done my research, of course, I received your request last week, and I found out that literally every Dutch student who wants to study in a university, at a university in Holland, can go there and can study. Of course, if their grades permit this their entries and their grades are high enough. The government supports the students by giving them public transportation and public transportation card, of course, and students funding. They help with some. They aid the students financially, so they are able to pay for the books, the tuition, and of course all the other things a student needs while studying, such as housing. And this is very admirable indeed. And we also, for the passionate students, they help and they aid, and this is very important. And I can really say that the government is doing a great job in the Netherlands. And another fact about the Dutch school system is that the tuition fees for every public university is roughly the same. And Ulis, could you tell me something about the housing situation in Manchester?
Yes. University apartments are the least expensive to rent. 6 out of 6 students who were from Manchester live with their parents because it saves them a lot of money. But 5 of those were also on a student loan. Most of the students said that joining university apartments saved them money, and it was also because they offer because of the shared showers and toilets, and the sometimes not so great living facilities also contributed to the lower prices. It was also easy to get a place there to live. When we talk about university apartments, 5 out of 5 students were not from Manchester. They were all living in student houses. They all had to work to be able to enjoy the little free days. They all had to work to be able to enjoy the little free time they had left. And besides studying and working, and this is what makes studying in the UK feel different in comparison to the Netherlands. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the tuition fees. We asked the students in Manchester about the costs of studying and living. Most of the students paid around £9,000 a year. 2 students even stated that studying in private colleges could mean that parents had to pay triple the amount of money to actually get their children to study. This was the same amount for foreign students who want to enroll in normal universities. This could explain why students in Manchester insisted to stay at their parents' home, and why students who come from out of town find it difficult to live financially comfortable. Recent news, which can be found in The Guardian, states that universities will be allowed to charge students £9,250 during the start of the following year. The BBC and other news outlets even stated that the university tuition fees are inflation linked. This year there was a 2.8% increase. If this inflation continues, fees will be rising above £10,000 in the next few years.
Thanks, Ulis, for this answer, for the answer on my question. I also felt that the part where they live with their parents while being a student, it was quite out of the ordinary. It was quite extraordinary, to be honest. And until we found out that the scholarship you get as a Manchester student is also partially based on the combined income of your parents, or one parent, of course, dependent on the student. They use the same sort of system in Holland. Is that correct, guys?
True, yes.
Yes.
Okay, for now, Joey, you've also questioned some students during this research, and in regard to their attitude, towards the government and its financial system for students. Could you tell us something more about your student and about this specific part of the research?
Yes, definitely. Well, there were some interesting findings during the project, and some of them were just as expected, and others were quite surprising, which of course is exactly as we had hoped for when we started researching. The one that really stood out to me, the one question, was the score on the question, how good of a job do you think the government does to aid students financially? Students were given the choice to score the government's aid on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst and 5 being the best possible support. Now first I would like to state out to the viewers that this part of the project was done and completed by myself. So Souf and Ulis, you do not know the answer to this question, but what do you think, Souf? How many students do you feel have given the government a 5, being the best possible score on the financial aid they could offer?
And how much interviews? How much students did you ask?
10 in total.
Okay.
Yes.
I missed that probably. I think 2 or 3 should be able to give a 5. To give
2 or 3?
Yes.
Well, it's rather low. And you, Ulis?
Yes, I believe, I think 3, because some of them are still living at home and might be comfortable with the situation.
Alright. Well, this came as a surprise to me too. But none of the respondents gave their government a 5, being the best possible financial aid they could receive. One of the respondents gave them a 1, as you can see in the orange box. 4 of the respondents gave them a 2, being rather low also. And on average, 3 people gave the government a 3 and 2 others gave the government a 4. So which is quite disturbing if you ask me.
So 0 of them.
0 of them gave the highest possible score.
So 0 of the students questioned about the aidance of the government gave the government a 5. Don't you think the government is a little bit, not the government, the students are a little bit too critical about the government?
Well, students are supposed to be critical of the government because I think we in Holland are also critical about the government. I think it's the government's job to know these attitudes towards them and to do something about it. But there could be an explanation because 4 of the 10 questioned students said that the government is just playing a money game, and there were no questions in my survey about any money game. So that really stood out to me too.
So the students believe the government is trying some tricks to get more money out.
As Ulis just mentioned, the government is trying very hard, the English government, to attract foreign students to the country because they pay 3 times as much tuition as a local student. So they bring a lot more money.
Do you also believe they improve the image of the country by having more foreign students?
Yes, I believe the government at least thinks they're doing just that, but for the students it's just, they feel like they're not being rightly taken care of when you compare their situation to how pleased the universities are with foreign students. So English students often feel like, as researched, the government is just playing a money game.
So actually you understand the feeling of the students?
I do, yes, I do understand them. Yes.
Do you also understand the position of the government? Because since they also have they have the right to have a nice image for other countries.
Well,
that
could be a whole different research project, but yeah, what makes us feel like our government is doing a good job and what makes them feel like their government isn't? Well, I hope to find it out someday, but I wouldn't know.
Thanks for the answer, Sir Joey. Since you also...
Did you just call me Sir Joey?
Yes, Sir Joey. You are a researcher, of course.
Alright.
Also for you, Ulis, you the first time hearing this research, you should also be not quite shocked, but you should have some opinion about it. What do you think? What is your opinion about the fact that 0 out of all the students gave the government a 5 for their aidance?
I feel quite mixed about it. because I can't judge about their financial situation because I have too little background information to give a really solid opinion about the fact. I think I was a little bit shocked because no one of the respondents was really feeling comfortable about the government's actions. But when I compare it to my own situation, I would absolutely not be able to study because £9,000 a year is way too much. So I can understand them a little bit.
Yeah, so, especially in comparison to the Dutch students, we maximally pay like 2,200 euros, which is like 2,000 or 1,900 pounds a year, and we even get more money every month, dependent on the student, of course. And we can understand of course, the students, myself, of Manchester. However, I think they are also a little bit too critical, because if you go to the African countries, for example, they almost don't get any aid from the government because the government is just or corrupt or just too poor in that field, in that branch for college.
Well, yeah, but I was talking mostly in relation to the Netherlands.
Yes, of course. But I understand the fact that you are.
We can do research in Africa next time.
Yeah, we should. Maybe in Morocco or something, or maybe in Asia. We go to Indonesia or to the Moluccan.
Sounds like a plan.
Sounds like
Yes.
plans. We are now here in the struggling students, so it should be possible to do that, to take those places also, locations also into account. And for this, so we can see that the time is almost over for the show. And before I want to finish the show, actually, could you give a quick summary of the entire research you did in there?
Yes. Let me wrap this up quick. We questioned 10 students in Manchester about where they live. We also asked if they have to work and if they need to borrow money to complete their studies. We also asked the students if they are financially capable of joining leisure activities. Lastly, and most importantly, we asked if they were happy with the governments in regards to financially aiding the students. We concluded that it is more difficult for students in Manchester in comparison to us in the Netherlands.
Thanks for the summary, of course. And this was today's show. First and foremost, I want to thank you both for being here, for answering my questions. And I want to thank all the people, I want to thank all the ladies and gentlemen who watched the show. And I hope to see you again in our next episode of Struggling Students, wherein we go to Utrecht, one of the student cities of the Netherlands, a beautiful city, and famous for all the bicycles you see on the streets. See you next time.